What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Chris, as always with me,
Liam.
And today we are diving into Season 3, Episode 5 of Foundation. I almost wanted to say 7, but we're on Handmaid's Tale too, so it's all over the place. But anyway, welcome to the show. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we are a show about shows, and we don't ever pretend to be experts. We just really love talking about this stuff. Think of it like the break room at work, maybe, if that is something that you have at your work, or if you work, where you kind of just talk with friends about the kind of stuff that you enjoy. That's what we do. We've been doing it with each other for so long that we started doing it online, and you guys like it too. So thank you for tuning in. We're a little over 36,500 subscribers, I think, at this point. I'll have to double check that number, but thank you all for tuning in. And so if you're enjoying this content like everyone else, hit that subscribe button, join us on this journey. The best way to let us know you liked this video specifically is the like button. And the best way to get involved is down in the comments, and we'll see you there. So let's dive in.
All right, so this episode felt all over the place.
Man, I thought because we have I agree. First off, let me say I agree. Because we are following multiple people, which I love. Like, for me, if you can do a well-narrated, multiple-person arc, good on you.
This is how World War Z should have been.
We're not going down that rabbit hole again. We've done this too many times. But what I want to say is, I just think that because of the fact that we are following multiple people, the narrative in this episode, because they pushed Dawn's storyline with Gail, but there were multiple storylines being pushed at the same time, and we're getting, breadcrumbs leading to certain people. Like we got to see a little bit of Brother Dude Day, but we didn't get to see a lot of him. We just know he's safe right now. But then most of the episode really leans into Gail's manipulation of Dawn and her battle with the Mule, which I thought this was by far one of my favorite episodes so far this season. The visuals were stunning. The writing of the story, the actual narrative was great. The character development was fun. And the cliffhanger at the end, like I told you before we started the cameras, I was visibly upset that episode ended. I was like, what is going on? I want to see what's going to happen.
I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Just because of how the rest of the series has been for cliffhangers, and watching so many shows as we do, I hate the cliffhangers. So I just got a natural thing where I see them coming now.
I honestly double checked my phone when the episode ended because I was like, there's no way that was an hour, and it wasn't. The episode's only 45 minutes long. And I'm like, oh, that's also why it feels off. They purposely cut right there a little bit less than normal because they wanted that to be the cliffhanger.
Yeah. So Demerzel.
Well, that's all the way at the end, right? Well, let's jump back to the beginning.
I am.
Oh, okay.
I am. Day's escape. He did his little switcheroony. That seemed to be a theme of this too. People weren't who they seemed, but in that little switcheroony later on, we see Demerzel yeah, Day's gone. He won't be a problem. Don't worry about him.
Interesting dialogue. I'm very curious. Because we talked about in a previous episode that Demerzel's she's kind of omnipotent, right? She's all-seeing, all-knowing. And being a robot, what the extent of her powers might be that she can actually almost tap into an all-knowing surveillance system. Who knows, right? And so I believe that there's not much that happens inside of Trantor, especially, that she doesn't know about. And so the thing Dawn having the conversations with Gail, I'm pretty sure she was privy to, just couldn't catch. And that's why she had sent those guys there, because she knew what was going on and she sent them after him. Just couldn't catch him. I don't think she really realizes the extent of a Metallic's ability yet. And that's kind of been working in their favor against how powerful Demerzel can be. But then when it comes to the whole thing with, Brother Dude and his courtesan and him basically surrendering to the fact that, life's going to end and I'm just going to embrace that. She's privy to all these things. I think she's even privy to the new Death Star, we'll call it, the big gun that they built.
Probably.
But she's also aware enough of something that we are not as the viewer that lets her have peace with these things. Day's off on his own freaking adventure after love. So I'm presuming because it's love-based and not power-based, she's just let him just go. At this point, he's going to be more of a problem for me, and I got other things to worry about. Right? So let him go. We're not going to see him again. Kind of how I perceive that. But I'd be really interested to see if you had a different perspective, or as the viewer too. What do you believe she means by he won't be a problem anymore and we won't ever see him? Because I think he's going to be one of the most pivotal characters come towards the end of the season, and especially with Demerzel's arc. So I'm curious what that meant. Give a different belief, or
I think she wants all this to happen. That's why when you mention the whole thing with Gail at the end and being pissed off, I'm just I feel like she's checking in with her, kind of same way Dawn is.
I just had an epiphany as you mentioned that, because last episode, when she's talking to the Zephyr, we learned two very important things, I believe. One, Demerzel can find loopholes in her programming that allows her to do things that normally her programming would allow her to do. Destroy Airbridge on Terminus being a prime example. The second is that she's been talking to this Zephyr about her impending doom, about the fact that she knows that the Empire is going to end and there's nothing she can do about it, and that she's trying to basically figure out a way that she can reclaim herself when all that happens. And so, yeah, like when you put all that information on the table together, it makes a lot of sense that she's actually doing everything she can within the parameters of her programming to make sure shit goes wrong.
That Gail succeeds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I saw this.
Interesting. I didn't have the epiphany until you brought it up. So it's not really an epiphany, it was an enlightenment by you. But yeah.
So the influencers, as I call them, right?
Mallow's great-grandson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the influencers end up, their ship is more damaged than they expected, though they can't go where they originally wanted to. So he has to go back home to meet his warlord father, uncle.
He's his uncle. And he's not a warlord. He's like leader. The way I like to think of the traders is like black market. Like they are the export masters.
Rogues.
Yeah. They don't necessarily like a thieves guild, right? The rogue. Makes sense if you were like D&D terms and stuff. So, or fantasy terms just in basis. But if you remember, when we first meet Han, who is Gail's kind of like that guy, when we first meet him,
Fuck buddy.
yeah. When we first meet him, though, he's on like a covert mission. And the person he's going against is the one-armed uncle. When they're doing that like speeder bike race.
Oh, that was him.
Same planet, same guy.
I didn't know that.
He's actually the leader of the traders. He's in charge. Like he's the great-grandson of Hoper Mallow. So like he's, cloud of that. But he's actually a pretty badass dude from what I'm gathered. And
he reminds me of like every war veteran that I know.
yeah, I mean, he really does, 100%. But I think his motives are different, where he's more like mercenary based than he would be like, where his motivations are money, right? Like money and power, not necessarily honor and family. Well, not necessarily family, because
He felt hurt and abandoned.
he definitely, yeah, I think that plays into a factor, hurt and abandoned. But it wasn't spending more time with your great nephew that really, or your nephew that like really sent him over the edge. That was just a piece of the puzzle she put in there. But
My God, she is a master with words and people too. Holy shit.
yeah, she's good with people for sure. That's one thing I've noticed. She reads people really well and then can, like marionette, basically manipulate them based on what she reads.
And she said that she's a country girl if you think of the planets in terms of states.
Yeah.
So she's a country girl. She mentioned she's a flyover planet or something like that.
Yeah, born in the the boondocks of Kansas or something. If you want to made it like the flyover states as we call New York. Sorry, buddy. Or their business partner living in Kansas. Sorry, bud. Yeah. So she talks about her come up, and it's like the Jefferson. She's moving on up, and how she met Mallow, and she was like, "No, this is my real treasure," and decided that if she was going to rise or fall, it was not going to be alone anymore.
Yeah, it was going to be with him.
And that she truly loved him.
Yeah.
Which is, she didn't have to admit that or share that with us. So I think it's genuine. I don't think that's like a con. I think she really does love him.
I could see it both ways right now because it does help support her manipulation of him by telling him that. So I'm not sure quite yet, but I do lean towards that she does love him.
I got more of like a father-daughter vibe from them two when they were talking than I did a family vibe from the other two.
Yeah.
Like much more comfortable and willing to speak their minds to each other, where the actual family's like guarded and like closed off and like all mad at each other.
Well, she's the outsider looking in.
It's like the bartender, right? You're willing to tell the stranger your secrets because there's no consequences.
Yeah, that works the same as online too. Like you're willing to tell a complete stranger that you've never met before a whole bunch of stuff. They normally wouldn't tell the person that you're with. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then we also got confirmation that the music is a huge key factor.
Yes.
The bandolier, he even knows it because he mentioned, I'm going to play and see if I can help her a little bit. So he knows his music's powerful. So,
and it was working too.
Yeah. And there's a couple of questions that get arisen at that point. Was he helping the mule because he was scared and just that's, what he needed? Or is he also, because right now they paint him to be really creepy and kind of could be evil, but he also could just be awkward and an artist, right? Like there's a verge, like a line, very thin line right there. And
he's very childlike.
Well, I mean, again, that come from a lot of different things. That come from the way he was raised. That could be like, there's a lot of different reasons why it could be that way, or it could be an act. It could be a complete act so that you think he's innocent and not. Like, there's so many things that are going on with that character. He's very valuable, right? Which makes him very interesting to me. And there's a lot of mystery around him, where he comes from, what his knowledge is, who he's siding with, what are his beliefs. Where did he learn to do all these things? Is he a Mentalic too, right? So like there's these things, because you have hidden Mentalics and people who say they are, but aren't really who say they are this whole episode. And so it's like, is he hiding right in plain sight to us?
Probably.
Yeah.
It fits with everything else. Everyone has this face that they show the world, and then there's who they really are deep down inside. Sometimes you get some crossover or bleed through, I guess, and then there's some people that are just naturally don't give a shit, so they're going to be who they are anyway.
Yeah.
But in this universe, that wouldn't help you very much to be your true self if you're a good person.
No. Yeah. Especially at this era in this, where it is.
Gail and Dawn.
That's going to be a huge part of this episode. So I think we should just touch on Shepard back to New Terminus 2, returns the Whisper ship he stole from the mayor, and the mayor can't forgive him, so the mayor puts him in jail. And basically all the people he's trained and his unit is now in charge of like detaining him. And she even says to him, like, listen, you might think that you're the person you can escape from anything, but you trained me, so you're not going to get very far. And so he seems to me like he knows something. He's not resisting. He's willing to just get locked up, be subjugated to, cavity searches and all these different things. He knows something more than what he's letting on.
He's spent all this time with Gail.
Yeah.
She literally is shifting the timeline to fit what they want it to be, which is a good segue into Dawn.
Yeah, he's still Dawn, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this particular character got a lot of screen time, and I thought he did a great job. We pick up, last episode, they escape, so they're together on a ship now, and we find out that Demerzel's aware, based on his nanites, where he's at.
She watched it happen. She had this little hollow projection.
Yeah, so she knows exactly where he is. He's, on, I guess it's like a Senate, like a space station for like a Senate, seems like. I forget exactly what it's called, but it is where all the, important council members and, voters are going to show up. Decides to blackmail the particular governor of the area where...
Terrence.
So they blackmail Terrence, who... very interesting character, to say the least. Because at first you meet him and you're like, you kind of feel bad for him because, Day is blackmailing him, or Dawn is blackmailing him.
And then the mistress.
And then you realize he's not a good dude anyway. And you're like, you could just blackmail them with that. He has real skeletons in his closet. You don't need to make shit up. But yeah, no, the one thing I say, like, all of that was interesting dynamic, and it was, fun to watch play out. But the thing I thought that was like the biggest takeaway for me is that the Cleons are always the Cleon. Like, he's always him. Do you know, like, even with joy and love and like freedom and like wanting the universe to prosper, there's an evil and like a deep darkness inside of him, which he can harness and use, which he did in this episode multiple times.
I was surprised he shot the mistress.
Well,
because he made such an objection about the gun.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If we go back, season 1, season 2, and we really look at who Day is, in every situation he was ever put in where it was dire like that, he chose violence. He didn't choose diplomacy. He chose to eradicate. Like, doesn't ever choose a higher road. He likes violence. And so I think what we're starting to see is the reflection of that, is that he's right on the borderline of where he could either become a different Day, or he could just be like every other Cleon. And we're seeing that Gail actions are kind of pushing him to the evil side.
Every time they say Cleon, I keep thinking Klingon.
I mean, it's their big, race of space that's...
But literally, every time they say their name, I hear that, and I'm just like, oh, Klingon. All right.
Yeah. So Gail convinces Dawn that he needs to get the vote so they can cut Barricade in.
Which Cleon the 13th or something like that put up a law or a rule that you can't do that anymore because of a failed attempt in the past.
Yeah, so if you remember in season 2, Cleon the 13th goes to Terminus, the original Terminus, the planet, before it's destroyed, and basically goes and meets with Harry. That's how Demerzel gets the Prime Meridian. That whole thing happens. Well, while he's there, the space, what are they called? Not the Spacing Guild, that's Dune. But basically the people that are modified to travel through space, they have a coup. They rebel against Cleon and link his entire fleet together and self-destruct it. Do you remember that in season 2? That's what they're referring to. It is the last time that a Cleon flew his entire fleet out and tried to barricade a freaking planet in. He lost his whole fleet. This Cleon did the same thing.
Yes, but he was trusting Gail.
Well, yeah, Gail thought it could happen, didn't know it would, but they definitely sent him in. Well, she tells him straight up, like, I needed you to fail. I needed Foundation to be the most powerful thing. I needed to set the scales to the best of the ability for me to succeed against the Mule. And that's what I did. And he did not like it. Ripped his earpiece out and then turns around to find out that his airlock opened. Obviously before Demerzel, because Demerzel's the cliffhanger at the end, but his airlock has opened, and it's Terrence, the man he blackmailed, who he just watched his wife burn up in front of him on a planet. I want to talk about that real quick before we dive into Terrence and, close out the episode with the multiple different appearances that happened.
The Mule.
The Mule.
It was his plan all along, and Gail knew about it, and she took advantage of it so that she could get the fail.
I want to know in the comments below how much of the future of like the planning you think the Mule knows, and does Gail know as well? Because Gail, no, it's Salvor who could go into the future, not Gail. I'm trying to remember. Now I'm drawing a blank. Either Gail can go into the past, or one of them goes into the past, the other goes into the future.
Well, Gail had the premonitions.
So it's Salvor that can go into the past.
Because if you remember, Gail had the premonitions. That's where we were introduced to the Mule, right?
Okay, so Gail goes forward, and then Salvor had the ability to go back. That's what it was. Or Gail, yeah. I knew they had different abilities. Like one was like the mirror of the other. Like one could project forward, the other could just project back. Why was that relevant? Oh, I wanted to know, based on the Mule's actions, he seems like he's a step ahead of Gail. He's like a step ahead of what Empire or Foundation or any of his target enemies would be doing.
I don't think so.
He was ready for them to come take the planet.
Yeah, he's ready for it. I think Gail knew he was ready for it and saw this as like the way I saw it in my mind was Doctor Strange going through different variations, trying to create the exact same scenario so that they can win. Sometimes that takes a loss, as we saw, right? And so I see that in this as well, where that's how I link it with her, is that's how they see the future. They've got these different timelines, different streams. They're checking to make sure and adjusting course to keep it on track, like the airplane analogy, right? Just change it just a little bit. You have great differences in destination. So same thing with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have never seen and or heard of the device the Mule used to so he basically overloads the jump gate with an explosion that impacts the star, which then creates a solar flare or some sort of solar whip that then flares out and takes out not only the jump gate, but the planet and the ships itself.
To me, it felt like that bomb thing was charging the satellite in front of the sun. And then once that was charged, it emitted the pulse into the sun, which broke the layers and allowed the solar flare to leach out in one calculating force.
Yeah.
Directly into the planet.
So he used the local star as like its own projectile piece of it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd never seen that before. And so basically he can create planet killing bombs using stars and jump gates.
Yeah. So in what my understanding of how the sun is and solar flares themselves is just like the Earth, it's got its electromagnetic thing and there's weak areas, and then when because we get sunspots and those are usually where the flare is about to come from, right? So we get these warnings every once in a while, different grades of solar flares, and this disrupted it so much, and put a hole in the visible force field of the star, which allowed all those materials to escape in a focused projectile, essentially.
Yeah, whatever.
That's how my mind rationalized it anyway.
Yeah, he called it something, blue something, I think, or I forget exactly what he said. I'd never heard the term or seen it happen before, so it was all new to me. But wow, what a powerful weapon he now possesses.
Yes, but back to Terrence and Dawn. So Terrence shoots the airlock door because he obviously distraught and doesn't give a fuck anymore. So he shoots that, gets sucked out. Dawn grabs onto the side. Most of the stuff escapes, but he eventually goes out anyway. And thought it was going to be him when it's an airlock breach.
I think that was intentional.
Probably.
Yeah.
So we don't know if he's still alive or not.
He hasn't in his blood. He's still alive.
He could be picked up.
As long as he has those nanites inside of him still, he's going to be alive. He has a spacesuit and he has healing nanite. There's no reason he'd be dead.
What's the life support for the spacesuit? Does that last hours, days? Is it some weird thing that's just in this universe where it's indefinite?
I would say indefinite. Like Asimov wouldn't write. Like he still obeyed the laws of physics, and like he like tried to make sure that science was involved.
No, he's very science-based in everything he does.
I would say that unless there's laws to the air, right? There's definitely going to be a finite amount. It'll run out.
So when you say that he'll be fine, the nanites, I don't understand. Can they provide him oxygen?
The nanites can repair his organs, repair his skin.
Yeah.
So like if he starts to like lose, like so if say if he runs out of air and his brains function, his lungs start to fail. Demerzel, also in the same location as him right now, can track his nanites. So the way I see it is he won't be in very long. Demerzel will go grab him. His nanites will keep him alive long enough. And if he does end up dying for a couple of minutes or whatever it may be, the nanites can repair him enough to bring him back. Like he won't have brain damage, he won't have severe organ damage. Like the nanites will be able to repair him enough. As long as Demerzel can get to him. That's my thoughts.
I was just asking because I don't know limitations of the nanites, so I didn't know if they can provide him oxygen or anything like that. So that's all.
I don't know. That's a great question. Let us know in the comments. So what do you guys think of this episode and of season 3 so far? For me, I'm really loving season 3. I think every episode's really adding something new and really getting me even more excited for where this is going. Foundation is probably one of my favorite sci-fi series on TV right now, and I'm really enjoying it. So let us know what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you want to keep going on this journey with us, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on one of these videos that are about to pop up next to my head. Peace.
Find the strength hiding in each battle scar. You're not who you were, you've already come far.